Alright, we're back again. Today we have a 4R70W. Its predecessor was the AOD, then the AODE, then the 4R70W, and now they have the 4R75W. Distinctions, as it went later on in the years, they went to electronics. They got rid of the direct shaft that went from your converter to the direct drum, which is this, and instead they went with a lock-up torque converter. Whether it was better or worse, I don't know, but that's what they did. Today what you'll see in most vans and limousines and taxis is a 470W. That's the latest version of this. This one here is a 2011 out of the Ford E250 van. There's a few things that you need to watch out for, and we'll go through them as we build it. Now, right now we have the whole unit cleaned up. I didn't bother showing you the disassembly, but all cleaned up, all laid out on the bench. You guys can figure out how to clean it up and take it apart yourself. But the most important thing about cleaning it up is that you do not use a rag, paper towels, or anything like that to clean it. You're going to want to use, if you don't have a fancy machine like the one we got here, which is like a big huge dishwasher, you can just use carburetor cleaner, solvents, go down to Home Depot, get a can of paint thinner, dump it in there, use a little brush, and then you're going to blow it out with your blow gun. Now, the problem that you'll have if you use a rag is that you're going to get a lot of lint off of this rag, and the lint will eventually accumulate in the bottom of the pan, and it'll sit down there. And then when you start it up, it's going to get sucked in the filter, it'll go in there, and then it'll stop you from moving because it's going to plug. It's going to plug it up, it's going to clog it. Well, with that said, let's move to the beginning. Now, every one of these units, and I've built thousands of these, you have to use a shift kit. Now, I'm not one to advocate shift kits in anything, but they did a nice job on the shift kits on these made by Transgo. They come with every part that you need that wears out that will give you problems. So besides rebuilding a complete rebuild on this, we're also going to put a shift kit in this unit. It's essential that you put one in every unit that you're going to rebuild. Getting started, we're going to start with the case, prep it up, and get this ready. Right now it's just an empty case. I'll show you. Well, there's nothing to show, but it's just an empty case. And we're just going to put on the small little parts, and we're going to take off whatever gaskets are remaining on here. Just take a razor blade, clean it off. My hammer will help. Alright, so everything on this bench is going to be clean, and there's nothing on this bench that does not belong in this unit. And that's the way, that's my common practice. And I think it helps. So it might help you to get into the routine of not having anything else on your bench that you're building except for the unit that you're working on. It'll make life a lot easier, especially in the beginning when you're not used to what the parts look like, you're not familiar with things. It'll really help you out. Alright, so we're going to start off with the most easiest thing to put in is the manual arm seal. Just going to put a new arm seal on the side. We'll get this together. Now, we're going to put our EPC in. This is the EPC. There are many different versions of this. This is a 2011. It's got a soft wire internal harness, as you see here. They went back and forth a couple of times. Originally, the AODE had a soft wire, then they went to a hard circuit board type looking wire, and then they went back to this soft wire again. One of the things that kept changing through this evolution was this EPC. This is a very crucial part of the transmission that will provide the adequate pressure for the rest of the unit. They changed the design of the top here. They also changed the actual structure of this. to fit certain brackets. There were also different brackets that were made. So make sure you have the proper EPC for the bracket that you're using. In this case, it'll be this bracket for this lake one, and the proper wiring harness. So we'll go ahead and put this in, grease up your O-rings. You're going to reuse it, put new O-rings on here, you're going to reuse it. But I don't advise reusing it. You can, for an inexpensive part, cause a lot of problems by reusing it. Although it is easy to get to, it will cause extensive damage inside your transmission that you want to try to avoid. So I think it goes around, like right now, like $30. You know, it's worth the $30. Next, let's get our linkage and parking gear in. So for the parking gear, okay, so the parking gear, the parking crawl has three components. You have the shaft, you have the crawl itself, and then you have the spring. But when you're looking at it upside down, you're going to put the spring with the square side on the edge of this crawl like that, and then it's going to go down into the case. And then the shaft goes in there. Next, we're going to put in our linkage. If anybody wants to see close up what it looks like, it's going to go down this way. You know, because it's very easy to put this piece in backwards, and then this is facing the wrong way, or this is facing the wrong way, but it's going to go in like this. Alright, next, a big part of these problem with these units is that the later units, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it just seems like it's inferior metal that they used on these linkage arms. The part that's exposed to the elements, which would be from here up, winds up rusting and building up and caking on this rust onto the switch that is onto your neutral safety switch. The earlier ones didn't do that. So when you get these later 470Ws, you're going to want to, if you're lucky enough to save your neutral safety switch, most likely you'll probably wind up having to buy a new one because they always break, is you're going to want to clean this off really nice. Which I've already done, and then when I'm all done with this, we're going to paint it to make sure that the elements, it's a little bit harder to get to the shaft from the elements. Have our nut. They wound up changing the size in that nut from 13/16 to something that's just a little bit bigger, probably metric on the later units. About 2011, they went with a little bit bigger nut on that. But if you take the 13/16 wrench that's old, you get your oldest one in your toolbox, a little worn out, and you bang it on there, and it'll tighten and loosen up right for you there. All right, now don't forget the pin that goes in here. Next, I'm going to put the accumulators in. Never build these units without changing these accumulators. They're bonded rubber. Don't reuse these things. They're about $3 a piece. It does not pay to reuse this. This is your third gear one. If this goes, you're one of the weakest links in the unit is direct drum, and then you'll lose pressure to that drum. So it's already a weak link. So don't invite danger by cheaping out and not changing that. So you're going to want to change your 2-3 accumulator and your 1-2. You know, it's not really essential that you change your low reverse servo. What you do make sure there's some flexibility in the lip seal on your low reverse. If there is, you're okay. If you hit it on the bench and it cracks, no good, throw it out. And there are 3 types of these servos, and they're identified by the line going up. So you have a 3 line, a 2 line, and a 1 line. Now, I've never seen anything other than a 3 line in these later units. Not saying that they don't exist, but most likely you'll have a 3 line low reverse servo. The other servos, there's only one type. Or there's only one type that you should be putting in. There were earlier versions, but all these later ones will retrofit to the early units, so you don't have to worry about it. Throw out whatever ones you want to change and put in the latest, most updated servos and accumulators you have. This one over here is for your overdrive. We'll put this in later. Alright, where are we up to? We got that one. Now let me get to some of the shift kit parts. Alright, you'll see in the shift kit there are these little cup plugs here, and what you're going to do is on these late ones you have a larger one and a smaller one, if you can see the difference there, but this one I'm not going to use. This is the smaller one. I'm going to use the smaller one right now. You get a big tough punch. I'm going to put it down here. And I will show you where that goes now. That will go right here, and I punched it where it's flush with this hole now. It stops right there. You can see the arm, the pin is in, the nut is tight, and your EPC is all the way in. Make sure it's bottomed out right there. Okay? This is low reverse, this is overdrive, this is your 1-2, and this is your 2-3. We'll come back to that later. Alright, now another part of the shift kit that we're going to use are these big springs for the 1-2 accumulator. Now, open this up first, and I'll show you how they go in. Alright, so you got a lot of springs here, you're not going to use them all. First, no matter what was in there, always get yourself a brand new bonded 1-2 piston, accumulator piston. It's going to come like this. There's an aluminum one in there, throw that in the garbage and use this. When you use this, you're going to use the orange springs first. There's 2, an inner and an outer. Put it like that, and you're going to throw it in the bottom of the hole here. Grease it up a little bit, make sure you don't want to rip anything. You don't want to rip any of this rubber. Okay, now we're going to put our accumulator in. Make sure it's straight. Next, we're going to take 2 of the purple. We got a small purple and a larger purple. Put them together, and then we're going to have this piece of metal that's going to be like a stopper. Put that in. Finally, with this assembly, we're going to have a top cover, and they're a little tricky to get down, so we're going to grease this up really nice. Put that there. You're going to hate putting these in. They're not easy to put in. But it's going to make a huge difference when you're done building this unit. You're going to be left over with a big purple and a solid spring that doesn't do much. Now, these are for the aluminum type. We're not going to use this. We'll throw this one out. Throw those 2 out. We're not going to use them. It's for a different type of accumulator piston. Now I'm going to get our snap ring. said, these are a little tricky. Okay, that's it. Now those are really easy to rip, the covers going in, because you want to push down really hard, and it's hard to feel if it's going in right. You know, the best advice I can tell you is practice makes perfect. I've never ripped one, but they do look really easy to rip, so just be really careful putting them in. I do stand on a milk crate. I find that it gives me a little bit more leverage. You can do whatever you want, but I find that does help. Alright, so we're looking pretty good on here. We just want to put the internal harness in right now, so we'll clean it off. Never use a rag to clean any part in here. We're gonna use solvents and compressed air. Okay, it's a new O-ring. You can actually see 2 O-rings in there, and there's only one spot here for the O-ring. And you're gonna say, why do I have an extra O-ring? Don't worry, the earlier ones actually had 2 O-rings, so that's why the kit will come with 2 O-rings in there. I like to do this first to get everything out of the way on the case, because you know what, as you're rocking and rolling with this thing and you're going and you're trying to move quickly and you're trying to get things done, you'll forget about these small little things, and you'll throw the valve body on, and then you'll start plugging and you're going to look for the plug and then realize, oh man, I put the valve body on without putting the harness in. So I like to get everything on the case, as much stuff I can get on the case as possible done. This way there's no problems later. You're not taking things back apart, you're not forgetting anything, and it's finished, and it's done. We can move on. So we are going to move on. We're going to flip this thing over. And don't worry if you don't have these fancy jigs. These jigs are nice, but for many years I just used an old Torque-Flex case. I have one. I still use it on some units. I have it over there. The unit will fit inside the Torque-Flex case. Turn it upside down, and you'll have a nice little stand for yourself, and you can do it right on the floor. And then when you're done, when you're going to do the valve body, you take the unit off the stand, put it onto the bench, and then you can work on the valve body that way. So don't worry if you don't have one of these jigs. They are nice though, Alright, next thing we're going to do is put down the bottom bearing, and make sure that this case bearing is in good shape. You can feel it. A lot of times you'll feel it all scored up. You can look at it. If the case itself, which they are known to go bad where the rings are down here, if the case is worn out down over here from the rings, you're going to have to ream it out, machine it, and put in a sleeve. In this case, everything was fine. So, this is the bearing that goes in the bottom of the case. It looks very similar to the bearing that sits on the reverse drum, but this is the difference. It's a little smaller over here, and if you try to put this one on, it won't fit perfectly on the bottom of the case. You'll see that it's just a little bit different. So make sure you got the right bearing. If it takes you to put this one to the side so you don't mix them up, I would do that. Okay, now we have rings that'll go here for our output shaft direct drum. The kit will come with solid rings. I recommend using a tool for that. I'm sure you can still find it somewhere. I forgot where I got this one.
You can tie this on there when you're done?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna push these rings right down. Now you can do this without a tool, but it is a little tricky. Even with this tool, it's a little tricky. Just gotta take your time. There you go. This one. There's two. Take this off. Then put these pieces on to size it up. And then let that sit there for a little bit. Alright, now we're going to work on the direct drum. You want to make sure that this part of the direct drum is in good shape, where the bushings are out. Also, you want to make sure that the splines in here aren't stripped out. These strip out quite frequently. So those are two things to watch out. A lot of times, a lot of units, we will throw this out and buy a new one. Because these very rarely are in good shape when we take these units apart. But in this case, this one's in okay shape. So, put the inner lip seal down. I'm going to take our piston. Now there's a little check ball in here. I like to shake it. Make sure that ball's moving freely. And then here's the lip seal for that one. Like the orange juice I got there. Like the orange juice, yeah. Alright, we're gonna grease this up extensively. We don't want to rip anything. And then, showed you before, you have a little tool like this. You can use a feeler gauge and then crimp it onto a little pipe that you can make yourself. I've had this one for a very long time. And so drop down and then just work the outer lip seal around the drum, around the piston, and it'll fall into place. Do not force these down, as they will break that lip seal. Now we need the spring, if I can find it. So make some over here. Where'd it go? Come out wherever you are. Okay. So it couldn't have gone that far. Ah, here we go. So we'll put that on. And then the snap ring goes on after that. It's only one snap ring like this in the unit.
Devin broke the sink, man.
What's wrong with you guys? You guys are always breaking stuff around here. You broke the toilet bowl last week, now you break the sink. You guys are terrible. Alright, so we're gonna make sure this drum edge looks good. Take your friction pack. Okay, there's gonna be 6 frictions, 6 steels. There are different thickness steels, so make sure you have the right thickness steels for the drum. If your clearance looks off, you could actually play around with it with the different thickness steels that are out there. You have 68,000, 78,000, 58,000, so which is helpful. Some aftermarket drums, they'll be a little off, so you will have to play with. Don't assume that it's gonna buy a new drum and it's gonna be perfect. So they're usually not. What the hell are you doing, dude?
I didn't like this sink.
What are you doing? I've never. How are you taking? Where are you going with the sink?
Oh, I wanted to put it over here by you.
Get that thing out of here. What are we gonna wash our hands with?
I'm putting in a single sink. They didn't want a double sink, basically.
Really?
It was instructed.
All right.
You want I should help you? I'd help you. But you know what? I got told to fix the sink.
Oh my
I
God.
told the same thing.
All right. So I'll make sure there's enough clearance here. Give it a smack down so the snap ring goes to the all the way out, and then you should have about 60 thousandths of clearance when you do this. So if you have more than 60 thousandths, then it's time to get out some thicker steels or maybe double up on thinner steels. And now we're going to make sure that this drum air checks well. It's a used drum, so I got to be really careful to make sure that what I'm putting in here is going to work. All right. Going to grease this up because we got our new Teflon sealing rings. Take our shaft, some grease on here. And this is just to check it, make sure that it's going to work properly. So you're going to blow through the top hole on here, and you can hear it. That's how well it's holding the pressure. So if that was tranny fluid, it'll work very well. So I'm not worried about this at all. That sounds great. So now we're going to take our shaft, which the seals are seated now, and we're going to put it on our ring here. Snap ring down. Sure that's in. Sometimes they're a little stubborn. Kind of have a slight wave to that snap ring, so it can be a little stubborn sometimes. Alright, so now we're going to take these metal rings, there's 3 of them. Unlike the early units, now the early AODs, the non-electronic AODs that came out in like 1981, actually had 4 of these rings, and it's the same exact ring. It's the same ring as the old AODs. But these late ones, because there's no governor back here, you don't need that 4th ring. Now, in case any of you don't know what governor is, before electronics, the governors told the valve body how fast the vehicle's traveling. But now we have speed sensors and wires to do that. Alright, so now we're going to put this in as one unit, just like this. Okay? We got everything together. It's going to go right in. We got our bearing down there. Then we're going to take our direct drum, take it back apart. I know it seems a little redundant, but we really want to make sure that this thing's going to be perfect when we give it to the guy putting it in. Alright, so now we have a shim. You'll see that it's got a step on one side. The step is going to face down. You're going to have a flat side facing up. Next you have a bearing, and it's going to be the very thick bearing. Okay? It's going to fit perfectly on that direct drum. These bearings go bad quite frequently. These usually get blown up to the point where you can't even get this apart. And a lot of times I have to use a press to get this off the Planet set. So this one's okay. We're gonna put this down. Now we're gonna take our direct drum hub. Looks similar to the forward hub, but it's got a bigger hole here. Put that down, and then we're gonna stack up our drum. I have steel already down there, so don't be concerned. The steel is already down there. That wound up just hanging out down there when I dumped everything out. Alright. So, again, this is like a weak link on these transmissions, so really make sure that you go through this direct drum well if you're going to reuse it. And I'm going to say it again, a lot of times I don't reuse these drums because it's just, they always go bad. So this is actually an unusual circumstance that I'm reusing it. They can be kind of costly. A brand new one from Ford I think is going right now for about $80. You can get a Taiwan-made drum, brand new, for about $40. But I'm going to tell you, you know, there's been a lot of problems with those Taiwan parts for these units for some reason, and it's worth the extra dollars to get the brand new Ford on this, especially because there's so many problems with this section of the transmission. So we're going to hold it, put our finger in here like this, and drop it down. We got our bearing on the bottom there. We're going to double check to make sure that it is airtight.
And two, also while you're in there, before you put the other thing in, let's give a whole.
Now we got a snap ring. We're going to put in the bottom of the unit. It's just a flat snap ring.
Gotta mention it. Yeah, no, that's gonna be a bigger job. And obviously now we're gonna orientate this, you know, the sink back where it was. So that way
Next, our low reverse band.
this will be like.
These two will be anchored on the case end, and this is for the servo. So we're going to put it down like that. It goes down pretty easily. And it sits on top of that.
That's how it was. I think that's the way we wanted.
Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, there's always like
Alright. Now we're going to put a new bushing in our Planet. There's a bushing down here. Right there. And we're going to change that bushing. See that these bushings are another weak link in this tranny. Always change these. Even if you buy a Planet set from a hard parts dealership, they don't change these. So do yourself a favor, put a brand new bushing on every single unit you build on this. So we got our new bushing in there, and it goes a little bit past. I don't know if you can see. It goes. It's not flush. It goes down just a little bit, but you don't want to go too far, else you'll hit the bearing that's sitting right here. Okay. We're gonna take our spread. Spread goes in. This center support, you just roll it and it'll fall down. Now let me show you an angle of what it looks like inside the unit at this point before we go any further. So you'll see the band is sitting there, the direct drum and ring gear. It's all sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. Now we're going to put the planet in. This bigger hole is going to line up with the speed sensor hole inside the case, and the smaller hole lines up with the anchor for the overdrive band. And put it down. They are quite heavy, and again, like the direct drum, these planets go bad all the time. Plan on spending an extensive amount of money building these units because of the hard part damage that comes along with it. These are not cheap units to build. If you do take it apart and you can reuse the planet and the drum, I think you should consider yourself very lucky. It's very rare that that occurs. Alright, so it's just kind of sitting there. And what you're going to do is grab the shaft on the bottom, and it's just quick spin, and it falls down. I hope you heard how it just fell down like that. Next, we're going to put down our Jesus clip. Now they changed the design of these. The earlier ones looked a little different. This one looks like this, and it's gonna, I'll show you where it sits in a minute. Let me get in there. It's gonna just squeeze the center support with the case. We call it the Jesus clip because as you're trying to get this in, it'll pop out and you'll lose it. You'll say, Jesus Christ. So, again, this is the Jesus clip. And they can be a little tricky. Yeah, I'll show you a picture of where the Jesus clip is. Alright, so if we're looking down, this is the bottom of the unit, and the Jesus clip is going to be right in there. This is the edge of it there, and the other edge of it right there, and then it goes down in here. Now the snap ring is going to go around here with the opening here and the opening here. The piece that comes up is going to come up right here. And what I mean by that is, okay, this is the snap ring. You see how you got the little piece that comes up? Try to do this with one hand. A little tricky. Alright, so you can see how the snap ring lies. You have the little piece that comes up right there, the other opening there, and your speed sensor will come out right there. And then the rest of the snap ring is inside the case, just like that. Alright? Alright, the next step is the sun gear. Try to angle that a little better. You have this sun gear. Again, another weak link. You can see these bushings go bad all the time. Right in here, just gets grooved out. This is another bushing. Don't bother putting this in with the same bushing. Just change it. You're gonna reuse the sun grit. And these are a pain in the neck to put in, by the way.